Howdy, howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast number 332. Hey, I can't thank you all enough for all the incredible positive comments and feedback from the YouTube video I just posted on the Pro Photo A10. I mean, wow, I guess, I know. I'm way behind in getting videos out to you folks. That I know. But I've gotten a lot of questions. And that was a stimulus for the whole thing. And well, I just can't thank you folks for watching all 28 minutes. Because man, with some of the comments you guys have watched it. And yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it. So there's got to be more coming. Yes, there is. But, with feedback like that, how can I not? So, hey, thanks for your support. Appreciate you watching the video. Appreciate you stopping by the Moose Podcast. Also need to thank my good friends at Bedford Camera, bedfords.com. I tell you every week about the killer service, the great inventory, the killer prices, that 5% Moose discount you get after you check out. I mean, all that great stuff, and I've told you about all their classes, but I've not told you this because it's brand new. March 27th this year, I will be at the Arkansas store. We're going to be talking aviation, baby. Yeah, it's supposed to be 90 minutes. It's going to go longer, I can tell you, because I'm going to cover it all. I don't care what camera you have or what you want or what you need or your skill level, anything. If you want to take some great shots, I'm going to give you all the information I can to get you out there shooting. So, Bedford's in-store appearance, Moose, 27 March in Arkansas, bedfords.com. Hey, Bedford, thanks so much for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Let's get right into this week's episode. 5 Ps. You've got to be wondering, because there's a few combinations. Well, I'm thinking more around the prior preparation prevents poor performance. Or, like this one better, positive pre-planning prevents poor photographs. Yeah, the 5 Ps. Now, when someone told me about the 5 Ps eons ago, it had nothing to do with photography. In fact, it's actually a marketing slogan or mantra or inspiration, or when you screw up, rubbing your face what you didn't do. But that's not what I'm talking about with these 5 Ps. I'm actually had a couple excellent questions from folks. One of them was in regard to the A10, and to boil it down, it's like, how do you know when you're sitting at home what you need to get the shot when you're not out there getting the shot to know what you need? You know what I mean? And hey, I'm right there with you. It can be a real challenge. Now, it's important that in this process, we have to think about that thing called a budget, right? I mean, let's be honest. If we all had a gazillion dollars, you would not be listening to the Moose Podcast. You'd have all the gear you need, all the time you want, and you'd be producing the photographs without anybody's help, right? Because you'd have all the gear, you'd have all the time. And that's really kind of important. And with those things come the knowledge. But that's not where any of us are at. I have that time clock ticking. I've got that, capital reserve being a business thing. All of that is part of this whole process. So what can I, provide you to give you positive pre-planning prevents poor photographs advice? Well, let's say the worst case scenario, as in you're going to go after something you've never photographed before. You're having to go somewhere where there's no guarantee that what you want to photograph will ever appear. You're going to have to travel, and you're going to have to take time off work. I mean, we're just going to stack it up. Make it as challenging as possible. And for some people, probably very real world. Now, I come across that a lot, especially with critters. Now, here's the first thing I'm serious. First thing you have to do in this process if you want to not just be successful, but keep your sanity, keep your passion, and keep on going. You have to understand that there's every possibility that you will come back with no photographs. That's where you start. And if you start realizing that that is the real possibility, then when you come back with photographs, you've already beaten the odds. And let's be honest, that is very much the possibility no matter who you are, what you're going after. That is the true challenge of photography. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the great rewards that when you show up, the subject shows up. Now, with that all in mind, and I'll always come back to remember, you're going to, as I like to say, you could come back skunked. Okay. I'm not talking about what Maggie gets outside the ranch. I'm talking about, coming back with Zippo. Okay. Now, the subject, you can pick whatever you want. Okay. Be it plane, car, person, critter, landscape, building, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. My little recipe I'm gonna give you doesn't make a difference what the subject is. But for my own personal train of thought, keep my brain going, I'm gonna pick the pine marten. I'm picking the pine marten for a very simple reason. Because for a long time, I wanted to photograph the pine marten. A little background, back in the day, and I'm talking, I'm pretty sure it was film days. No, yeah, it was. So this would have been around 96, 97. I really, really, really wanted to photograph pine martens. We were living in the Eastern Sierras at the time. Pine martens were being seen. And I got wind of a pine marten project literally happening right behind my house. To get this whole thing, get that photograph that I really, 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 really want, what I did was very simple. I volunteered to be on the pine marten survey, this project going on. That required my getting to the Forest Service, spending a few days getting certified to drive or ride, however you want to look at it, snow machines, sleds. Had to deal with winter survival and snowshoes. Bottom line is, after 2 years, I came back with zero photographs of a pine marten. Zippo, baby. Yeah, 2 years of being out in the field in the wintertime, cold, hungry, knowing that, seriously, the telemetry was going because we had collars on them. There was a pine marten in the log right in front of me, but it was in the log, and I got zero photographs. So, pine marten. It's part of the weasel family. Doing your homework. This is really, really part of the positive pre-planning, okay? Doing the homework is got to be multiple stage. The first is you got to find out where your subject's going to be, wherever it is. Pine martens. I mean, if you go into the desert to photograph a pine marten, you're not going to have any luck. If you're going to Point Mugu Naval Air Station to photograph Golden Era aircraft, you're going to be out of luck. You've got to do your homework, and that means figuring out where they are. How do you figure it out? Well, how to figure out where they are comes into also the photograph. I can't encourage you enough to go out to the web. Yeah, I know the web's not really accurate. There's photographs out there, though, you can go by. I'm not going to dive into the AI crap right now. So we're just talking about there's a lot of photographs out there of pine marten, a lot of them. And there's some really generous photographers who talk about how and where they photographed them. So you want to go out and look at these photographs first to get an idea what the photograph is you want in your head. I always wanted that vertical shot because all the weasels, from otters, sea otters, river otters, all the weasels periscope. They all go popping their head up. And that periscoping is the great shot because you get that great cute look on their face. I wanted that. That means you have to shoot vertical, which means you have to think about shooting vertical. And you're going to only understand that about pine martens if you start looking at photographs. So when you're out there, you're ready for it. At the same time, you're going to figure out where they are. And look at those photographs and figure out where they are. You're going to see that in the um, late spring to early fall, in the summer, they lose their thick, beautiful winter coats. They get to be those little weasel looking things you see in cartoons and stuff when we were kids. You want them with that really thick coat. So that means you got to figure out where they are in the winter time. That means you have to figure out winter travel along with everything else. So you see what we're doing here? We're going to go and look at that photograph. And those photographs that are out there are going to give us the hints to get positive pre-planning going. We're going to get that idea in our head, that photograph we want, where we're going to go find them at our best chance to keep putting our best foot forward. Because as soon as you figure out, sticking with pine martens, that if you are looking for that thick coat, you have to be winter. Where can you go in winter to find them? Where, if the chips start falling into place, you start saying, oh, this is where I got to go. Everything's going to point you what works in your direction. And it's very possible in this process, you're going to come up with someone else working on it. If we're sticking with pine martens, another biologist, and that is a great way to get involved. Yes, I got skunked 2 years doing that. That's part of the process, but it will help you the day it all happens. So here you go. You've got a path to travel just by, one, coming up with the subject you want, two, realizing that, hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. You might come back with nothing, so let's go for the gusto. And then you start, three, looking at photographs, and that starts giving you more questions, which lead to more information, and more information leads to more questions, which gets you down to what's kind of important. What gear do you need? You must have required to get that photograph. These 5 P's, they really prevents poor photographs because you're already in this groove. You're looking and you're thinking and you're going photographically, and then you're going, okay, if I'm going to get that pine marten shot and I want that vertical, this is not the time to go out with the 8 to 15 fisheye. Now, if you're working with a biologist and you know where they're coming in and out of, and you can put up a remote camera, okay, then there's that possibility. But that's not probably where you're going to start at. So you're going to need that longer lens. Now, how long a lens? I can't emphasize enough to start practicing a lot of this stuff at your home. There are, believe it or not, life-size pine marten stuffed animals that you can obtain, and you can start figuring out how much lens you need to get the shot you want. It could be 400, it could be 600, it could be 800. It all depends. And with that stuffed animal, you can start seeing how far you need the animal away from the background, so the background as blurred as you want, yet tells the story you desire. So then you can look at what you're seeing with your stuffed animal. You could look at the photographs online. You can do some comparison. You're going to start in your own mind setting down the parameters that you have to make that shot happen. It also helps you not buy gear you don't need. It also helps you not taking gear in the field you're not going to use. Let me give you an example, sticking with that pine marten. The pine marten that I ended up photographing, I've talked about a few times, was in the winter. It had snow on it. It's got that dense 2-layer or 2 type of fur, really just, thick and luscious. If I were to introduce flash, I could introduce flash and do what I do with the pine marten, for example, that I do with birds, like you see in my videos. For color, I could kiss it with color, but the problem is with those 2 types of fur, you're going to see specular highlights, and you're going to look at that and go, wow, that's what is this? What's all these specular highlights? It looks funky, all right? And looking at the photograph that I have with the blog or the podcast, you can see the snow is falling. So then I'm going to complicate everything by bringing in flash because do I want to freeze the snow or do I want it to blur like you see it? So right off the bat, little testing, little forethought. It's like, wow, yeah, flash. Just going to make life even more difficult. Don't bring it. And you might, whatever subject you pick or you're going after, you might say, oh, flash is essential. And then you might start doing some testing. You might rent some other gear. You might find the answers for the photograph you want by doing some of that positive pre planning. So when you're on site and you have all the chips and all the cards dealt and they're in your favor, you can make that shot. There's no worse feeling. And I'm telling you from personal experience here, buddy. I am telling you from personal experience. There ain't nothing worse than to go out and you're in the right spot and the subject cooperates and you are just stuck in the mud because you ain't got the right gear, you ain't got the right ideas, you're not in the right place, you're not using and everything falls apart. That's where one of those other 5 Ps comes into to play. And I want to keep the positive pre-planning prevents poor photographs in mind because let's keep it positive. Let's keep moving it forward. And that's the whole idea. So in getting this shot, you've got to, honestly talk to yourself. Have a great conversation. Pour yourself some Blantons and put your feet up by the fire and get that pad of paper and pen and just start writing down some ideas. What would you like to photograph in the next 6, 8, or 12 months? Don't put the pressure on it doing it in the next 6 days. Plan out ahead. Think about it. Give yourself time to do the homework. Give yourself time to acquire any gear that you might need to acquire. Give yourself time to do those things and then do some practicing, some shooting at home before you put the money out to go somewhere. It is not rocket science. We all can do it. Just takes a little bit of time, not getting all keyed up by all those different things we see out there that tend to wind us up. And remember, we're all about just taking that one click. It just takes that one photograph that, finally after, what would it be? It would be, this is 2003. So after 28 years, I finally have that one shot of the pine marten hanging on our wall. 28 years, folks. Sometimes it takes a little time. Thanks for dropping by. You guys have a great week. And remember to make every photograph your story.